Okay, good.
All right, so we're recording again. My name's Luke Angstad. This is my podcast, Knowledge Wars. It's been quite some time since I recorded a video. It's been well over a month, but I'm back here with Rick Weber. I did a couple of videos with Rick and also a mutual friend of ours, Bob Kraft, who's a constitutional law expert. And just to cut to the chase here, Rick has been embroiled in a legal battle since 1986, and it's been 36 years that he's been fighting tooth and nail to exonerate himself, to clear his name. And we did I know we did at least one, we did like a video, maybe a video or two, about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, and it was pushing 2 hours, and we felt like maybe we it was just too long and we didn't get right to the point, so we decided to do another video here tonight, get on point. We Rick has some bullet points. He has some documents relating to his case on his computer, and we're going to share it with our audience here. So, without any further ado, Rick, I want you to get into it here. Share with people what we got here. What's going on here?
Well, thanks, Luke. I appreciate you having me on tonight. And yeah, like you stated earlier, we did run a little over 2 hours on the last video, and even I lost attention to it as I was going through it. So I wanted to put together some bullet points, and without wasting any more time, I first want to give the case number in case anybody out there wants to look up the case number. It is case number S as in Sam 86-03 521 C as in cat, F as in Frank, A as in Alpha. And this case was back in 1986, and it was in the 18th Judicial Circuit Court of Brevard County, Florida. So just to hit on some of the PowerPoints, or the bullet points, in the previous video, there was a date given in the trial, or before the trial, during the depositions, and the date that the alleged victim had written down was in her diary was that it sometime on May 2nd of 1986 this alleged incident took place.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bounce back and forth here to the pages that I've got marked in my on my computer here,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can show you where the page numbers and where it's outlined. I've got some things outlined, and then there are some things I can just read to you. So this would be on page.
And just to bring our audience up to speed, if they haven't seen the last video, I mean, so you were accused of, Rick, you were accused of rape in 1986, and a woman had she had an exact date. It was March 2nd of 1986. Am I correct here?
May 2nd.
May 2nd of 1986. And after you went to court, and you had a whole list of people that supported your alibi because you were out of town at a sporting event, and you had more than what, 15, how many, I mean, you had 15, 20 names of people that signed their name to a list that you were at this, was it a bodybuilding event or something? What was it? Because I want to sum it up before you get into it.
Yeah, it was a sporting event back in the 80s. If anybody's familiar with the wide world of sports, they had a super teams competition at the end of the National Football League season, and it was usually the NFL versus the Major League Baseball world champions, and they would get together, and it would be a friendly competition, and it would be track and field, events like that, weightlifting. There was obstacle courses. There was basketball. I mean, just a different array of sporting events. Yeah.
Sure. And just so our audience doesn't lose you, I mean, so someone accused you of one of the most heinous crimes a person could accuse a person of, and that is rape, on May 2nd of 1986. You come
Correct.
in with a list of 15, 20 people saying, listen, I was at this wide world of sports event. 15 people can corroborate that I was there. Next thing you know, the judge asks or issues a continuance, and however many months later, they're saying, oh, it may not have been this very specific day, May 2nd of 1986, but it could have been anywhere from May 1st to May 31st. So we go from, this woman knows an exact date that you allegedly did this to. It could have been any day that month. I mean, we talk about how suspicious and how obvious it is that this woman is lying. But anyway, I just wanted to throw it out before we get kind of
Exactly.
reference all the details. I mean, this is what we're
Okay.
talking
Yeah.
about. I mean, it's something where any person who hears the some of this hears the basic facts of this case realizes that your accuser is lying.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a. I was at the sporting event, and there was actually over 100 eyewitnesses. And when we went to court, I had about 20. There was about 20 people at the first court date, which I believe was towards the end of 1986. So it was either October or November in '86
Hmm.
was the first scheduled trial,
Hmm.
and I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea how this nonsense worked.
Hmm.
So when I found out that she gave a date in her depositions, well, the first thing I did, and I was engaged to get married at the time. The first thing that my lady friend and I did was we tried to figure out where I was at on May 2nd, because that was the date she had given in her deposition. So we come into the first trial, and I I had the document with my signature on it, the
Hmm.
date.
Hmm.
So when I handed it to my public defender, I walked in and I had, like I said, 15 or 20 people that were there with me. So we
Hmm.
were making a little bit of noise. I mean, we're thinking, why are we even here? But
Hmm.
we're here. We'll turn this paperwork in, and it should be over with, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we turned in. I give the paperwork to the my public defender, and I guess because we made so much noise coming into the courtroom, the state attorney happened to look around and see me come in, and he saw all these people with me, and so he sent my public defender over basically to see what was going on.
Hmm.
So I handed him the paper with my signature, and the date was May 2nd, and it was at I checked in at around, it was between 5 and 5:30.
Hmm.
And once you signed into this, it was a weightlifting competition that night. It was a Friday. It was the first Friday in May of '86.
Hmm.
So once you checked in, you couldn't leave the property. If you did, you were disqualified.
Hmm.
So I hand my public defender this paperwork. He gives it to the state attorney. The state attorney goes up and has a conversation with the judge. And at that point that the judge granted them a continuance, because allegedly I withheld information. I didn't no one said I had to give them any information. And I had a public defender. What more can I say, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's kind of where that went.
Hmm.
So the trial was rescheduled, and it actually was rescheduled for May 8th and May 9th
Hmm.
of oh wait, is it May 8th or May 9th? Or I've got it right here, so let me just kind of scoot down here when the trial was rescheduled. But here, let me go back up to this one, the page here, page 18.
Sure.
It's page 18 on my computer, but it's actually page on the depositions. It would be okay. It's page 18. I'm going to turn the camera around here,
Sure.
and I'm going to show you. You'll see the highlighted information where it gives the actual where she says it. They were looking. Felicia. This is when Felicia was at the police department.
Rick,
Uh,
we can't see the screen, so you wanna bring the phone
I'm
closer
gonna.
to the screen.
Is that better?
It is, but I still yeah. I just see the screen, but I can't see any specific dates with it though.
Well, no. Do you see where it's highlighted right here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, down here is May 2nd. That's
You're gonna have to zero in closer to that
okay.
and go pull down a little bit. Okay, see May and then scroll to the left a little bit. Okay, okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in the the individuals, the alleged victim, she was a 13-year-old girl. In her diary, she has a specific date of May 2nd, and that was recorded. So that's what we based our trying to build an alibi as to where it was at, to prove that this didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that was on
And you didn't, and Rick, just to your point, you didn't have to build an alibi. You had an alibi, and it was right. I mean, because you were at the Wide World of Sports, you were at the weightlifting
Well,
competition. So it's like you didn't have to build it. I mean, it was like, well, okay, that date, okay, this is where I was at, and there were what, at least 100 people that saw you there, and you had, 20 people who officially signed off to say that yes, we saw Rick Weber. We were with Rick Weber
correct.
on May 2nd of 1986.
Yeah, but my public defender
Mhm,
had never even talked to me. So, but from the time I was charged until
mhm,
the first trial,
mhm,
my public defender had only talked to me a couple, maybe one or two times. So I had no idea what they were wanting.
mhm.
And he never ever mentioned May 2nd.
Oh, wow.
We got that from well, I guess my lady friend, she got the information from a copy of her depositions, that when she gave her depositions to the police department.
Mhm,
That's when we realized that there was a date given of May 2nd, and
mhm,
so that's what we based our investigation on, to
mhm,
try to find out where I was at on May 2nd.
mhm.
So, but like I said, the public defender never asked any questions. Didn't it was, well, it's no different than what's been going on here lately with the second case that I had, but I'll get into that.
Mhm,
So then, on page, I don't know how relevant this information is, but my parents were sequestered from the trial. So here we are. Here's May 2nd. Here's where we built. We did our discovery to show that I was somewhere else. So
mhm,
there was a public record in Palm Bay that I was at this event, because that's where I got the paperwork, was from the city of Palm Bay with my signature on it. So this is all information that is public record. So but it's funny now. Can't find. I've called Brevard County, and actually I talked to Brevard County last week, and they still can't find that paperwork with my signature on it. They
mhm,
can't find the first trial date.
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they can't find what else can't they find from the trial? Oh, the 40 letters that were written from her classmates after I was found guilty.
Wow.
This is when the truth finally came out. Her classmates were like, "Oh no, this girl's been coming to school bragging about table dancing and stuff like this at her mom's parties."
Mhm,
And there was a lot going on in that family.
mhm.
So this just tied in, and all this was over $700 damage that they did to the hood of my brand new car.
That's right over the egg. Yeah, they but
Yeah, the egg on
no, but I mean,
egg on the hood of the car.
yeah. So just refresh my memory again. So the court destroyed all evidence of the first court appearance by the second court by your second court appearance. I mean, they destroyed everything, right? There was no record at all.
When I never actually tried looking for it until after I got out of prison
Oh,
from
okay, okay,
doing
okay. So
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
I gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I've been, I mean, for the last 36 years, I've been trying to get information to prove that,
Mhm.
you know that this didn't happen, and that I was at a different place.
Yeah.
And so when you go to the state, all this stuff is supposed to be, either microchipped, and
Yeah,
and
yeah. They should
and
have a record of
yeah,
all this.
yeah.
Mhm.
And when I spoke to there's three ladies over in Brevard County that I've been working with. I actually went to Brevard County back in February,
Mhm.
and but I've been in touch with them back and forth, and I was just talking with them last week, and they were like, they cannot understand why there's no record of the first trial. There's
Mhm.
no record. There's the 40 letters. The copies of the 40 letters are missing, and the copy of my alibi is gone.
Mhm. Wow.
So,
Wow.
and there's no record of a continuance being filed by the state attorney. So I
Mhm.
asked him about that. So so again, I just want to breeze through here just a little bit here now.
Sure. Yeah.
On page 39 and page 40 of the document, let me get down here to this. My parents were sequestered from the trial, and to this day, could never understand why they were sequestered. But apparently the state attorney, and this is something that Robert explained to me. This is just something that the state attorney. This is a game that they play to make the jury think that the parents are believe that I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they kept them out. So they kept them out of the trial,
Mm-hmm.
and so my parents weren't allowed to. And my mom was livid when they were told that they couldn't be in the trial. My
Mm-hmm.
mom was livid because she had so much information that she had done in her own research to find out more information about the family,
Mm-hmm.
which will come up. Um, but on page 39, let me see if I got it here, page 39. Yeah, my parents couldn't understand why they were being sequestered because they were not told that they were going to be sequestered, but the rule of sequestration had been invoked, and my parents actually got scolded because they didn't leave the courtroom. And
Mm-hmm.
then the judge says, "You understand that you are a witness for the state." And my mom was like, "Really? Are you kidding me?" But
Mm-hmm.
that's the game that they play.
Yeah.
So
What made your parents a witness for the state? How did they?
they weren't. They were never
Okay.
called.
Mm-hmm.
Here. I'll turn the screen over. It's on line. The court, Mr. and Mrs. Weber, would you stand, please? So let me see if I can get that up here for you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is on page 40 of the transcript. Can you read it?
You go to the left a little bit with your phone.
Okay.
Can you scan in a little bit? Stop. Go to the left a little bit. It's not easy to read. It's not easy to read off the screen, Rick. So if you would like to read off the screen, that'd be great.
Okay. Okay. I can read it off the screen. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just like I said, my parents had no idea they were going to be sequestered. That
Mm-hmm.
was just the game that the state attorney played. And it says, the judge, the Mr. Beam and the state attorney's name is Mr. Beam, and I would announce Mr. and Mrs. Weber, the court. Mr. and Mrs. Weber, would you please, would you stand, please? And are these all witnesses to be announced, Mr. Beam, which was the state attorney? And he says, I think that's it, Your Honor. Mr. and Mrs. Weber, you heard the instructions I just gave regarding the rules of sequestration. You have been announced as witnesses to the state. You will remain outside the sight and hearing of the courtroom. You will not discuss the case with anybody excepting only Mr. Mon or Mr. Beam. Mr. Mon was my public defender.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Beam was the state attorney. So, are you kidding me? He called them as witnesses, but he never called them to the stand. So
Mm-hmm.
that was putting, and like I said, Bob Kraft explained it to me. This is putting doubt in the jury's mind. This is just planting seeds of doubt that
Mm-hmm.
even my own parents believed that this happened, and my parents were just, I mean, they knew where I was at on the
Yeah.
date that was given. So I mean, it's again the game that they play.
Mm-hmm.
So then on page 52, we talked about this is the young girl's testimony at the trial. On page 52, she states that they asked her why she refused a DNA test because when I was first called down to the police department, one of the first questions I asked was because they right away were like, we know you did it. She's been to the hospital, she's been tested, we know you did it, blah blah blah. And my first question to them was, okay, well, what do I have to do to prove I didn't do it? And they said, give a DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So I agreed to do a DNA test. One was never done because the girl, the alleged victim, and her mother would not let them do a DNA test on the girl.
Wow. Did they give a reason?
She didn't want them. She didn't want anybody looking down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Let me see. I can pull it up here. Page 52, page 53. Okay. Officer Koenig starts the investigation, and what he discovers is that there's a young girl who claims she was attacked by Mr. Weber. She's going to tell you she was young, blah 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 blah. Going to tell you that she didn't want anybody looking at her or checking her body. She refused to have this verified. You will discover this is I guess this is my public defender questioning the girl. She refused to have this verified. You will discover that she was a virgin and had never slept with anyone before. So she's refusing medical. And then he asked Officer Koenig will tell you, or I guess the state attorney would tell, I mean, my public defender is telling the jury, Officer Koenig, who was the investigating officer, will tell you that there's no physical evidence at all at the scene, no physical tangible evidence that this incident ever occurred. So this is coming from the officer that took my deposition and took my girlfriend's deposition. So again, this is all stuff that the jury's hearing. And then of course there were some things that when this incident took place, the car egging, my car got egged. We immediately we approached once we found out, because it didn't happen on the day that the car was egged, that we didn't find out who done it for a couple of weeks. It was somebody in the apartment complex that came to us and said, "Hey, we heard your car had been egged, and we think we know who might have done it." And there was some people that lived in another part of the apartment complex from where we lived. And it just so happens on the day my car got egged, we did have to park our cars in another area of the parking lot because our parking lot area was being re-blacktopped. So in order to allow all that to take place, we had to park in another parking lot. And it just so happens that we had to park our cars outside of the alleged victim's apartment. So she had access to my car without anybody, and she could, and again, this came from somebody else in the apartment complex that they thought they saw her around my car the day that my car got egged. So that's again, that was a $700 charge. And when we found out, when the person gave us that statement, then we went to approach the young girl's mom about it. And said, "Yeah, we found out somebody from the apartment complex said that they saw your daughter around my car. This is what happened." And her mom didn't deny it. Her mom said, "Well, yeah, I've had some problems with this with her, and I'll talk with her about it, and we'll get back with you." That's when I got, unbeknownst to me, that's when I got hit with my daughter says she did it, but then she says that you did something to her, and I'm like, "What?" And
and Rick, something we didn't cover in the beginning of this video is that this all started because this girl's mother had a crush on you, right? And you were engaged to another woman, and this were you at the gym when this girl's mother grabbed you on the rear end, and you said, "Listen, I have no interest in you. I'm engaged. I'm happy. I have no romantic interest in you whatsoever." And she just lost her crap, by virtue of her jealousy, and then she cooked up this story. But I mean, I guess we didn't really fill in the background story to your case at the beginning.
So that is what took place. We were at the gym. It was a Cosmopolitan gym. It was in Palm Bay, and we worked out there all the time. And this one time she came in behind us, and she just grabbed my ass, and it was like, really? And so I mean, I'm standing right next to my fiance, standing right next to me, and there was never any sexual interest between me and her, not that I was aware of anyway, from my side. But in the transcript, she does mention that one of her friends.
Rick, I'm losing you on the camera on your. Oh yeah, just there.
Okay. Yep. Okay, sorry. One of her friends had, and it's in the transcripts. I don't know if I use that as one of my points, but one of her friends had mentioned me to her earlier, that she should get to know me because her friend said that I'm a nice looking guy and I'm a nice guy. So I don't know if that's why she walked up behind me and did what she did, not
Mhm,
knowing. But the thing was, is we had barbecues. I mean, this was an apartment complex back in the '80s, and everybody knew everybody, and it wasn't like it is today.
mhm,
Sorry to say, but it's not like it is today.
mhm. And a lot
You
of these
know, we can,
details, we covered a lot of these details in the video with Bob Kraft. But
yeah,
yeah. So Rick, what other bullet points that you want to hit here? Because I know we wanted to kind of keep this like maybe a half an hour, so I think we're coming up on like another 10
yeah,
minutes. So what
yeah.
other? Obviously, we have the
Okay,
one where I mean, first of all, there was a specific date, May 2nd of 1986, where she said that
correct.
this happened, and then next thing you know, you come in with an alibi. You have 20 witnesses saying that you were at the Wide World of Sports bodybuilding event on that day. Next thing you know, there's a continuance, and you say, "Oh, well, it may not," and the judge says, "Well, it may not have been May 2nd of 1986. It could have been anywhere between May 1st to May 31st," which is it's just the
Well,
most
that was
it's just the most ridiculously I mean, not even suspicious, but it's just obvious that they're lying here, that you were being railroaded. But I mean, just to add insult to injury. But what other bullet points do you want to hit here, Rick?
well, the fact that we went to trial, the second trial,
Hmm.
the first one there's no record of. The second trial, I'm just pulling up the date here on it quick. Um, was May 7th and May 8th in 1987 at the
Okay.
Brevard County Branch Courthouse in Melbourne, Florida.
Hmm.
So that's where this is where the second trial took place. So it was on May 7th and May 8th,
Hmm.
and the state of Florida was the plaintiff. And we did find out that the mother and the daughter did drop the charges.
Yeah.
So the state picked it up.
Hmm.
So again, and
That's amazing. Let's just state that again. So this at the second. What was this the second court appearance, Rick? Which one was this here?
this was
When
the second court appearance.
So the
This was
second,
can you
so
see?
I just want to make sure I'm right because so on the second court appearance, you learn that the girl, the 13-year-old girl, and her mother dropped the charges.
Yes, the charges were dropped.
So wow, so yeah, so it tells you. I mean, that just tells you everything, right? I mean, they get a continuance. I mean, not only are they proven, not only are they shown to be lying when we go from being we go from it being May 2nd of 1986 to it could have been any day between May 1st
May
and May
1st,
31st. But in that interim, they decide to drop the charges, and what happens? The state picks up the charges.
that's how I understand it all to have played out.
Yeah, amazing.
Because there's no record of the first trial, so I don't know uh, if the first trial, if it was them that were the plaintiff, or if the state was the plaintiff in the first trial, because
Mhm.
there's no record of it
Okay, so wow, so you don't even know who the plaintiff was.
in
Yeah,
the first trial.
because there's no record, right? So wow,
Yeah, yeah.
wow,
Oh, here's something and this
wow,
is something. Yeah,
wow.
this is something that I just found out. I've read these transcripts maybe 10 times over the last 36 years, but
Hmm.
this last week I read the transcripts. I read the judge's orders that he gave to the jury, and this will blow your mind, Luke, because when I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, how did I miss this? First of all these years, and what is the judge talking about? But when
Hmm.
the judge gave the jury their instructions, page 347. Let me go to page 347. When the judge gives his instructions to the jury, he says, the defendant in this case has become a witness. You should apply the same rules to consideration of his testimony that you applied to the testimony of the other witnesses. The statement claimed to this a statement claimed to have been made by the defendant,
Hmm.
claimed, not fact, claimed to have been made outside of court, has been placed before you. Such a statement should always be considered with caution and weighed with great care to make certain it was freely and voluntarily made. Therefore, you must determine from the evidence that the defendant's statement was knowingly, voluntarily, or freely made. What? What the hell is he talking about?
No, I have no idea.
When did I make a statement? And
Mm-hmm.
who did I make the statement to? And was it even me that made the statement? And
Mm-hmm.
there's no record of that. Because I asked when I talked to the girls in Brevard County, I said on page 347 in my transcripts, the jury was handed something, and where was the public defender to object?
Mm-hmm.
So the jury was handed something. We have no record of it, and I had no idea that it was there until like 2 weeks ago. I'm reading the judge's instructions. I'm like, holy shit! Excuse my language, but are you kidding me? I made a statement.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly made a statement. It's a claim. Is all it is.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you take something that is?
Hey, Rick, I'm losing you on your camera.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
How can you take how can you take something like that and turn it into and turn it into a witness against myself, but
Mm-hmm.
not have a copy of what I must have said something, but where's that information at?
How does a person become a witness against themselves?
But I believe that's a Seventh Amendment or Fifth Amendment violation. You
I was
can't
going
be
to say,
witness
yeah,
against yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
How did so Bob, our mutual? How did Bob? I mean, did that come up with in your conversation with Bob? I mean,
Yeah,
what was Bob's
and
take on
Bob
it? I
just
mean,
well,
what did
you know
Bob
how
say?
you know how Bob is about it. That's
Yeah.
just the game they play. That's just the game that they play. And if we're not paying attention, and
Mm-hmm.
apparently I wasn't then, and I haven't paid. I didn't see that until, like I said, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I've never read the instructions from the judge to the jury. So
Wow.
what information were they given?
Mm-hmm.
And again, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that right there. And like I said, I've Brevard County. I've got those three ladies over that work that know my case. I visited with them back in February. I never met them, and I've told them, I've talked to them about this case on the phone several times, and they're like, "Wow, we just wish you the best of luck." They're like, "We can't believe this kind of stuff is happening in our courts," and they work for the courts.
Yeah. And so just to review this to our audience, and then I want you to finish up with your some finishing bullet points, Rick. So first of all, we have you're accused of rape on May 2nd of 1986. You come on with an alibi with 20 names of people that said that you were at another location on this event that says that proves that you weren't there. Next thing you know, there's a continuance where the judge or the court says that okay, it may not have been May 2nd like the young girl accused you of. It could have been any day from May 1st to May 31st. Oh, and by the way, this girl and her mother have dropped the charges at some point here. And also, there's no record of the first court case, right? I mean, so
Yeah,
this whole thing stinks to high heaven.
yeah,
Yeah, every step of the way.
exactly.
What other bullet points do you have here, Rick?
Well, I'm at the sentencing transcripts now, and I just wanted to just
Sure.
briefly go over this in the sentencing, where the two psychiatrists who the state attorney used in his closing argument to say that this poor girl tried to commit suicide. She took a bottle of pills. She tried to kill herself because of the heinous crime that this individual did to her. On page, let's see here, page three. 375, I believe. 375. Okay, yeah, here we go. Page 371. Okay, I just read out the transcript. This is my parents had hired an attorney for my sentencing. We got rid of the public defender and had an attorney. So the attorney, Mr. Manzo, calls Miss Wilkinson and Mr. Graziano. Now, Miss Wilkinson and Mr. Graziano were the psychiatrists who had done a evaluation and had been counseling this young girl for obviously several years because they worked at the school that she went to.
Mhm.
So Miss Wilkinson she was examined first, and she states that she's the counselor at the school. I got to know the Weber family. She had never met me until that day in court. And I worked in the counseling situation with the girl at request. And at no time during our sessions did she ever mention this person's name, or had she mentioned that she had been raped by anyone.
Wow.
So that was from the one psychiatrist, the first
Wow.
psychiatrist.
Mhm.
And then further down it says she did have a suicide attempt to the best of my recollection, but it was prior to the time in question. So then
So
that was
It was before May 2nd of 1986.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
So then we move on to Mr. Graziano's testimony, and he says I am a counselor at the school, and I was also the young man's teacher at O'Galley High School. I've known this young man, I've known this young person since he was 15 years old. As personal knowledge of him, I always found him to be of high integrity and good morals. I really wanted to approach the issue of counseling. This young lady, I had an occasion to counsel her when Miss Wilkinson was absent. She needed someone to talk with. There were many occasions I counseled with her and with her mother, and at no time has either her or her mother ever divulged to me anything of this incident that may have happened. On the suicide issue, I talked with her about that. When I talked to her about that, the reason for suicide, this was prior to this matter. She said the reason for the suicide was because she was having family problems with her mother. This
Mhm.
is the reason for taking the whole bottle of pills that she took at that time.
Wow.
This is when the state attorney jumps in and says, "May I ask him a question?" And the state attorney then hits Mr. Graziano. For each individual, are you aware that there is a psychotherapist patient privilege in our Florida evidence law as to what people tell you in counseling is confidential? And right then, Miss Wilkinson she just kind of went away. She just kind of backed down and didn't really say too much else. But Mr. Graziano stood his ground. He says, "Yes, sir." And um, Mr. Graziano says, "Well," and then Mr. Beam says, "That's a yes or no answer." Mr. Graziano replies, "That's an inappropriate question." The judge says, "I don't think so. Actually, I was concerned about it. I think it's entirely proper for Mr. Beam, the state attorney, to point out, at least for further emphasis. Now you may proceed, Mr. Beam." So then Mr. Beam proceeds with, "I'll restate the question. I'll
Rick,
ask each
we're
one of
like less
you."
than a minute then on this call, then, so we can always continue.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, so this is the actual testimony from the two psychiatrists. I'm not
Mhm.
making none of this shit up, okay?
Mhm.
This is actually what happened at my sentencing, and the judge, in my opinion, and in Robert's opinion, he believes that this should have been a mistrial, or it should have just been thrown out,
Mhm.
done.
Mhm.
But here we are, 36 years later. I'm looking at 11 years in prison because they're saying I didn't properly give them an address change, and they didn't have my email address.
Mhm. Hey, let's
So,
bring this up. Let's do a part two, Rick. We're gonna cut off here in a minute, so let's do a
okay.
part two on this, okay? So I'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay, sure.
This is great.
Okay.
Okay.